One of the great things in 2009 is it's a year that is absolutely full of composers' anniversaries. Mendelssohn, Handel, Haydn, Purcell. And the greatest one for me is my beloved George Frederick Handel, who unfortunately passed away in 1759, in April 1759. And this concert, which we're doing in March 2009, is within a couple of weeks of Handel's death. But it's not going to be a memorial concert. Handel was not always a gloomy man. Sometimes he was, but he was very funny and a high-energy sort of person. And so we're going to do a high-energy, hopefully good fun, operatic sort of Handel concert, rather than what is usually done by the Philharmonic, which is the annual outing of Messiah, which is one of my joys, as I come here every so often to do it with the Philharmonic. But this is a totally different, this is a costume change for me, if you like. This is it's a much more festive wig that I'll be wearing. And we have opera arias, we have instrumental music, and we have the great thing at the end, which is the music for the Royal Fireworks, which is probably one of the loudest pieces of Baroque music ever written, partly because, of course, it was never written to be played indoors. So it was written to accompany explosions, and therefore we're going to do a sort of indoor, slightly domesticated version of it. But music doesn't get more joyous than that, in a way. And so it's great to bring this to the Philharmonic. The other thing that's good is that a lot of early music is performed by rather small forces. If you think of the Brandenburg concertos of Bach, they're like 10 players or something. The fireworks music had 26 oboes in the original. I mean, that's pretty frightening, actually. We're doing a normal version, but it'll still be very loud in Avery Fisher Hall. And we're doing also this concerto a due cori, which means it's a concerto for two choirs, but it's actually two orchestras. And that's an outing for all the Philharmonic's horns to go nuts. They have loads of notes to play, and it's very pompous, jolly music. And the funny thing is that there's actually a link with Messiah with it, because some of the tunes Handel nicked from Messiah. He was a very green kind of composer. He liked to recycle whenever possible. And so, having written a good tune once, he quite liked to write it again and again. So he worked on the basis maybe that people had somewhat short memories. And so something he'd written 10 years before could be reused and maybe not remembered. Or if it was, they'd maybe remember it fondly. And so there's actually an aria, a chorus from Messiah in this concerto, played by the horns, which is very cheerful indeed. It has a much more sort of hunting outdoors feel than it does in Messiah, which, as you know, is a rather holy sort of piece. So we're talking here fun, secular music plus opera. Now, Handel spent half his life as an opera composer. He wrote 40 of them. And Christina Schaeffer's going to be singing arias from 3 different operas. One is Partenope, which is as near as Handel gets to writing a comedy. He wrote 2 such works, Agrippina and Partenope. Partenope is the Queen of Naples. She's the founder of Naples, in fact. And she has, maybe it's very Neapolitan, but she has an awful lot of boyfriends who sing. And she has to choose one of them by the end, which she does. But she mostly has a good time choosing them. Some of them play rough with her, some of them woo her in a very elegant. So it's a bit like a Hollywood movie. I can imagine her being played by Myrna Loy. And she's definitely sings a very great deal about what fun it is to choose between one man and another. And it's a very jolly affair. And Christina's going to sing 3 arias from it. It's not an opera that gets done very often, so it's nice to hear. A lot of Handel operas are being played and being played more and more now, and lots of them, thank heavens, are being heard here in New York, either at the Met or at City Opera, but there's still like 20 that haven't been done with any regularity. Partenope, I think, has been done at City Opera. It's always worth hearing. And the soprano who sang these originally must have been absolutely fantastic, because they're very difficult, very flashy and good, virtuoso fun. It's the sort of thing where you want to stand on your chair afterwards and give Christina a high five for doing it. The ones in the second half, she has a rather sad aria from Alcina, and then a second one also. Alcina is an opera about a somewhat unsuccessful sorceress she has been terribly successful, but things go dreadfully wrong for her because she falls in love. And that's what witches are not supposed to do. So her powers start to go away. And you can't help feeling a little bit sorry for her, even though she is a bit of a ratbag, really. The last aria is a great, big, serious one from Handel's Julius Caesar, which is, of course, well known to audiences in New York because it's done at the Met. But the arias are terrific, and this is one of the arias for Cleopatra when she's having a bad time. She's either having a great time or a bad time. As you know, opera is sort of real life with the boring bits cut out. And so this is one of the high moments of tragedy in the piece, where she thinks she's lost her boyfriend and she's going to go to jail. Everything's gone wrong, and with the end of the act. So we need something pretty big to end it. Handel's female characters are always much more interesting than the male ones, partly because most of the male characters are castrati, and there's not a lot that's interesting about them that survives. So, and they are often not as complex as the women. And with both Partenope, Cleopatra, and Alcina, we have three of Handel's great ladies, one after the other. One in Partenope is sort of a soubrette, jolly character with the occasional moment of sadness. Julius Caesar's Cleopatra, mood swings like you wouldn't believe. She would be seriously dangerous if she was actually ruling, because you'd never know whether she was going to give you a kiss or chop your head off. And finally, Alcina, this wizardrix, this hex, if you like, who loses her powers and by falling in love gains her humanity, but loses her ability to do her job in a way, and is totally confused as a result. And she's always been able to control men, and as soon as she falls in love, she loses that power and they start to control her. So fascinating psychological portrait. In fact, wonderful music, and all three of them are, Julius Caesar, Partenope, and Alcina, are three of Handel's grandest and greatest operas. And we have the Reader's Digest hits from them, if you like.